real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned something. You talked about spirituality.
Well, that was exactly what I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, so what's that like? Explain how what that is and how has that influenced your path in filmmaking? Has it been hard to navigate or what's?
No, I've kept things simple. But what I
Uh-huh.
will say is that when you find something you truly love, it grabs you, and that's kind of it. And if you resist it, I mean, you can try, but I mean, you'll fail and you'll fall into it. And that to me is what movies did. And then finding that spirituality in what I do made it all the more meaningful. I think, especially looking at.
See, it's interesting because most people don't classify, a great film. Like when I would watch Spielberg movies, I would always say it's really magical, but I wouldn't ever say it was spiritual. So it's interesting that you've classified it, in that way.
Well,
Is it, do you classify it that way because it's something, the craft of what you saw, it moves your spirit,
Absolutely, that's definitely
Okay.
one way of putting it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we at least I've had conversations with people where it's like if you're gonna survive in this industry, if you want to, be okay and have a good time in this industry to survive, is you have to have some type of connection, right? And I think everyone kind of finds that. Everyone that can be successful has to find some type of, whether it's spiritual or magic or faith or whatever it is for each of us. I think we have to find that if you want to succumb to some type of success in this industry.
Yeah.
Why are you smiling?
Well, I'm just thinking of Bardo again, not to plug Bardo.
Oh my gosh.
This was from the last. So I don't know if you've seen the film Bardo. It's
haven't seen yet.
not yet. So we're doing our favorite picks. So it's Alejandro Arito's new film. He won the Oscar for Birdman and Revenant. And I was telling them, they're like, how would you describe it? I was like, it is the purest example of cinematic art that I've seen in probably the last 7 years. There was a lot of metaphorical imagery. The messaging I thought was really deep. So when you bring up, I didn't think about it at that time, but when you bring up, it was something that really, really moved me. Like I watched, there's this one scene in the film where you find out the two main characters, it's husband and wife. The husband's a journalist, and the wife has a miscarriage, right? And so they have these metaphorical scenes where, one scene, the baby is trying to come out but decides to go back up. He comes out and then he retreats back into the woman's private areas, and then but there's this really beautiful scene where they're at the beach and the wife is holding this really ornate cup, and there's this little baby in this cushion, and the baby's asleep, and so she goes inside and picks up the baby with her hand and puts it down into the sand, and then the baby starts to crawl like a turtle into the ocean, and then the baby gets swept up by the waves, and then it's this really beautiful scene of this baby kind of being taken away, and then it does the cut to her, and then she's dumping the ashes of this kid, and it was the whole film was filled with stuff like that, and I just thought it was so
Spiritual.
it was so creative. I mean, it was just so creative, but the messaging, the creativity paired with the messaging, it really, really moved me, on a spiritual level. So that's
Whoa.
interesting that you characterized it that way.